everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 174. Today I'm going to talk about Traders of Carthage. This is a game, unfortunately, that is no longer in print. I think it came out in 2008 from Z-Man, originally released in Japan in 2006. This is basically a card game. It's got a little bit of a board where you're going to move ships around. You're going to be sort of... it'll make more sense when I explain it in the mechanics part, but you're basically buying and selling goods and trying to sort of invest and speculate on upcoming markets and things like that. But it's it's not really super complex at all. It's actually very simple mechanically. And it plays, I said, 2 to 4. It plays actually, I think, really well at all player counts, which I think is contradictory to what most people think. I will say right away I like it better with 2 and 3 than I do like it with 4. But so let me show you how it works, and I'll come back and tell you a little bit more about what I think. Okay, you see, you got the game set up here. We've got a little bit of a map on this side. I'll zoom into this a little bit closer later. You've got 4 ships here, and these are going to match the 4 different colors of cards that are in the game. What's going to happen is you're going to buy and sell stuff. These ships are going to move along and try to get from Alexandria here to Carthage, where they're going to sell the goods. Each player is going to get 2 little tokens here and their color here. So you're going to get this little thing, which is, you don't really need this thing, but it helps you mark cards that you've sold. And then you've got a little reserve marker there that you can use. Also some bonus ships here. These are going to match the 4 different colors of the cards. I'll explain what these do in a little bit. And to start the game, you're going to deal players cards face up off the draw pile here until they have a value of 8 or more. So we've got 5, 6, 7, and then 10. So I would be done. I would have my hand, and we'll deal out the next player's hand to them. And then whoever has the lowest value here is going to start the game. So on your turn, you've got basically 3 actions. You can either buy cards from the market here. So when you buy these cards, you have to buy everything that's available to you. And the cost of the cards that you're going to buy is basically this amount here. So this money action, this icon here, is a little bit of a dual purpose thing. So if I wanted to buy this row here, basically pay 2, 4, 7, 9, and 12. So buying the cards is going to have some implications, so I'll talk a little bit more in detail about that in a second. The next thing you can do is you can take a card from the market here and you can add it to your hand, and it's going to increase your buying power here. So now I've got, let's see what I say, 11 cards here, or I've got 10 points of cards. So I could take one of these, maybe I'll take the 3, since that's the highest there, this will move down. So now I've got 13 points, 13 coins worth of buying. So now I could actually buy this. This has actually reduced the cost of this now. So now I've got 6, 9 gold worth of stuff. So it's also made this row cheaper. The last thing you can do is you can reserve a card. So you can reserve a card in the market here or in the farm. So I could take, and maybe I wanted to reserve the red, and that would be my turn. I would reserve it. Now nobody else can take this card for gold in their hand, and it's effectively reduced the cost of the market here, because the next player could then buy everything again that's available to them. This card is basically considered not available to them, so they only have to pay for 7 coins worth to get all of these yellows here. Now again, you can also reserve a card in the farm here. You can't access this until it's going to move down. The way the cards from the farm are going to move down is once these are gone, so either somebody buys them all, or we go around and around and everybody keeps taking them into their hands. Once this is empty, then all of these are going to move down. We're going to draw 2 cards off the top. We're not going to see those. These are going to come in here sort of randomly into the market, and then we're going to seed the farm again, so you have some idea of what basically the upcoming market's going to look like there. Now if it come back to me here, then I could take this card because I've reserved it. I could take that and then add it to my hand, and then this would come back to me and I could reserve something else on a later turn. Or I could even buy everything. Now in this case, when I'm going to buy this, I still have to include this again because this is my reserve marker, so I could buy everything. Again, when you buy something, the market, you got to buy all the cards there. Now if it comes back to you, let's say these cards have been cleared out on a previous turn, and this is the only thing left, then I have to do something with this card. I don't have any choice because this is my reserve marker. I've got to either take this into my hand or just buy the one card for $3. And again, when you buy something, you basically take the cards from your hand and then you discard them, and then you get the cards. Now if it was somebody else's turn, let's say the next player was pink or something, it gets to them. This is basically considered empty because again, they don't have access to it because they reserved it. So these would move down. I'm going to draw 2 cards off the top. So now we're going to have a few more cards in here, and then we're going to fill this up again with 3 cards in the farm. So just real quickly, you can buy everything. You can take a card for coins that you can use to spend to buy stuff, or you can reserve a card. Now when you buy stuff, something very interesting is going to happen with this little route here, this trade route. So let's take a look at that and kind of see how your purchasing is going to affect the way that these ships move. So if we look at the board here, you've got a couple of different kinds of ports here. And what's going to happen is these ships are going to move based on the cards that were bought by the current player. So a ship is going to move one space if one of those cards was bought. So if there was only one green in that market, maybe there was one green and then like two blues and then a yellow. Let's say these were the cards that were purchased here. So the green card, the green ship is going to move one space. The yellow ship is going to move one space. Now the blue is going to move two spaces because more than one card was bought. Now if there was 3 or 4 blue cards bought, it's still only going to move 2. So ships are either not going to move, so red's not going to move at all because no red cards were bought, or it's going to move 1 space, or it's going to move 2 if multiple cards were bought, never more than 2. So he's going to move 2 and he's going to get up here. So once we get to this little spot here, this is sort of like a safe sort of middle ground port here. Okay. Now when you purchase these cards, let's say I had made this purchase in this case. So I'm in the cards that I purchased are actually going to go face up in front of me, and I can just kind of group them by their color here. So I've got this amount of goods sort of in my ships that are moving along here. So I'm in a little bit of a bad situation here because blue is in this pirate space here. Now green and yellow are also in a pirate space. So let's say the next player comes along, he makes a purchase here, and it's only a red, 2 blues, and a yellow. So the red's going to move up here. The blue is going to move up 2 spaces, so he's going to land up here. And then the yellow is going to move up 1 space, he's going to get into Carthage too. So now we're going to score. So anytime one or more ships hit Carthage, we're going to score. Now when that happens, any spaces in these pirate spaces are going to get basically pirated and robbed. So in this case, let's take a look at what I've got. I've got a blue, so my blues are going to score, and then my yellows are going to score. Now I've got greens here, and they're going to get pirated if I don't have any 2s or 3s of green in my hand. Now if I didn't have any 2s or 3s of green, you can see they have these little sort of pots here. If I did not have these would get discarded and they would be wasted, and they basically would get stolen by the pirates. However, if I have pots equaling the number of cards, or I've got 2, so I could have 2 3s or 2, I can discard this, and what that's going to do is you're basically going to take and you're going to turn these sideways to show that you've basically stashed them away and hidden them. So these are actually going to be safe for the rest of the game, but if you get pirated again, the ones that you stashed earlier, they're still going to be safe later on. Now I'm going to look at the cards that I am going to score. I'm going to look at blue and yellow here. So let's take a look at what I am going to score here. So let's take a look at yellow. When you score, it sounds complex in the rule book, but it's not really complex, and it actually makes a lot of sense once you play with it. So I'm going to take the highest value showing on the cards of that color. So I'm going to say yellow, I've got a 3. I'm going to multiply it by the number of cards. So 3 times 2 is 6. Then I'm going to round up to the nearest divisible value of 5. So 3 times 2 is 6, and so I'm going to round up to 10. Okay, so if you go over 5, then you're going to round up. So I've got 10 points there, and then you're going to divide by 5, which means 2. So I've got basically going to score both of these. Okay, so I'm going to take these 2 cards, I'm going to put them under this little marker here, which doesn't really matter because you can just put them face down and leave them. And then I'm going to score this one here. This is 2 times 1. I've only got 1 blue card. Rounded up to a 5. That's going to give me a point like that. Now let's say I had 2 of these here. So this one would be 2, which is my highest value, times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. I'm actually only going to score 1 point because, again, 4, you round it up to the nearest value divisible by 5. That's only 1. So I'm actually going to have to get rid of one of these, and I'm only going to score this one. You see how that works there? Now, every time that you score a color, in this case I would have scored blue and yellow, you're going to get a chip, a bonus chip of that color. And these are going to also keep track of when the game's going to end. As soon as somebody gets 8 of these, the game's going to end immediately, but they're also going to help you when you score. So if we take a look at another example here, if we get back to our example here, I've got, and remember this case I lost a point kind of because I got 2 times 2 is 4, rounded up to 5, 5 divided by 5 is 1, so I get rid of 1. But if I had this chip, you take the number of chips and you add it to your highest value. So I've got a 2, so I'm going to add that. This actually becomes a 3 now. Now I do 3 times 2, that's 6, and again that's going to round up to 10 divided by 5, which is 2. Then I'm going to score that. So as you accumulate more and more of these chips here, then you're going to be able to sort of round up in your favor and get actually bonus points there. So you can even, as you get a lot of these, and then you get some of these like 5s and stuff, then you're going to actually score more than the cards that you have. In that case, you just draw one off the top of the deck, and then you bury it, in your little score pile. So again, the breakdown of the cards is very important. The 2s are not worth as much. They don't give you as much buying power, but they have 2 pots to protect if you get pirated. And then the 3s only got 1 pot, and the 5s don't have any pots. But you want to get these to buy with because you're going to be able to buy more cards. And you also want to have these and purchase these when they're in there, so they're going to go in front of you. So if you get a bunch of 5s, you're going to, and you get some 5s, I should say, and some bunch of chips, then you're going to score, extra points that way. So after you score, anybody that's scored is going to go all the way back here. Anybody that's in this space or this space is going to stay where they are. Anybody in the pirated spaces is going to reset and go back to here. And that's it. You just keep buying and selling and reserving, and then as soon as somebody gets 5 chips, or excuse me, 8 chips, then that's going to trigger the end of the game. You're going to look at your face down pile of cards here. You're going to count up the points. If there's a tie, basically whoever has the most chips is the winner, and that's the game. Okay, hope you enjoyed the overview. This is a game I quite enjoy. We played the heck out of this over the last several months. This is one of the games I play at lunch with my lunchtime group. It plays quickly. Usually we can get a game in less than an hour, 45 minutes or so, even with 4 players. I played it several times with 2, 3, and 4 players. Now the problem with 4 players is you can kind of get sort of cycled out of the whole flow of the game in a way. I mean, not like you're going to get crushed, but it's just like the predictability of the new market cards coming out, the new farm cards coming out they're just not there. But they're not really, it's not really there anyway in a 2 and a 3 player game. It's just that it's going to cycle so much in a 4 player game that to me it's much less, not much less. I still like it with 4. It's just you kind of have to craft your mind a little bit and sort of expect that opportunities are just not going to happen for you at certain points, and they may happen for you, and another player may not happen for them. So it's a little bit lucky. That's all I'm going to say there. So, but with the 2 and 3 player, you can have a little bit. You can look at the size of people's hands. So if somebody builds up a giant hand of cards, well, they're going to be in good shape to buy that market. If somebody just bought something, then you can kind of see as the new farm comes out, the new market cards, you can say, okay, those ships have moved a little bit. Now, based on what the market looks like now, I can expect that, okay, blue probably isn't a safe spot to score because there's kind of blue trickled everywhere in the farm and that. So if somebody buys it, even though they may be a lot of yellow, blue may be right next to Carthage and they're going to move in no matter what. So you can kind of make a little bit of speculative guessing that way, which is neat for a nice little, compact card game like that. And then I like the whole, I really should say, I can't undersell enough the value of having those cards with the pots on them to save, especially early in the game. Because once you get a couple of those saved, you may kind of get behind on the scoring early in the game. But if you saved quite a few, again, those are locked and saved for the entire game. So you could sort of kind of build up a big scoring so that no matter what happens at some point, you're going to score a bunch of points. And that's going to catch you up. So it's not always a good idea to go for those big whale of a cards like a bunch of 5s and stuff, because if you don't have the right cards in your hand to protect yourself from getting pirated, and people will, make it so that you get pirated. They may not score as many points as they would have, but they may see that you have a lot, so they're going to, make sure that the blue boat sinks, so to speak. So you got to really kind of play defensive in a way as well. Back to the 2 and 3 player. I've read online and I've heard from people that this is best as a 2-player game. And it's okay as a 2-player game. Again, I played this several times. And I was kind of agreeing with that sentiment at first, because you can really plan and you can really make nice stabs at each other based on the way those cards came out. And you can really kind of manipulate that. But after a while, it's kind of like automatically kind of doing what you should do. Like the obvious move was kind of there. I think the 3-player adds in enough, a little bit of sort of fuzzy randomness to make it more interesting and exciting in a way, because you can get some sort of, I hate to use the word leader bashing because that has to me as a negative connotation. I think for people like, oh, that game is subject to leader bashing. Well, like what game isn't? The guy's in the lead, take him down. Like you're just supposed to sit there and we're supposed to let you win? No. So anyway, but you can have a little bit sort of manipulation there, almost a little bit of negotiation in a way of saying, okay, it's almost unspoken negotiation sometimes. So it's like, okay, well, if you buy this, you get that, and then Billy won't be able to get his giant score of blue just yet. We can kind of build up some blue cards here, and then then we can catch up, so he's not the margin isn't so great as it would be. Things like that. So I like that in a 3-player game. It adds that little extra element there, which I think kind of fits the theme of the game. These sort of cutthroat shipping guys. With the 2-player, it's cool because it's the back and forth, but it's done it enough where it's just like, that's the obvious thing. Okay, do that, and then I know he's going to do this on the next turn, and then we get the flop, and it's like, okay, well, I either got really screwed by the flop because it put out like 3 blues, and then 2 blues came out in the market, so you can get kind of wonky that way. But I think I'm I used to be a big Texas Hold'em guy, so I like kind of the whole flop of the cards. That's kind of just, I like that. So sometimes you get screwed by the flop, and that's okay. But in a 2-player, it seems to be almost as dramatic as a 4, but in a different way, where it can really load one guy versus the other in a 2-player. In a 4-player, it can just kind of be a little wild. Where in a 3-player, you can kind of pick and choose. So maybe the 3-player is really the best way to play this, I think. So yeah, it's cool. It's light, and I like how the cards are dual purpose. You grab them for money, you buy them to score points, you take them for the pots to save yourself and that kind of thing. And you can get some nice kind of dramatic swings. It's like, ooh, here comes the blue one up the route, and we thought that we wouldn't have to worry about blue, but so anyway, it's a good little game. It's out of print, so sorry, but I was requested to stop reviewing iOS games and brand new games. So here we go. Here's one that's old and out of print. But if I got it in trade myself, so if you can get it for trade, definitely recommend it. I don't see it for trade quite very often, so I think that's indicative of the quality of the game. I don't think a lot of people are letting this go, whereas there's certain games you kind of see are always for trade. So yeah, Traders Carthage, if you can snag it, definitely get it. It's a good little filler. Thanks.